Unfortunately, due to pet laws, I was not able to secure 12 monkeys for this video. I do apologize. But let's talk about the film. "12 Monkeys" was directed by Terry Gilliam and was released on December 29th, 1995, because nothing screams Christmas like 12 Monkeys. Terry Gilliam, you might recognize from the Monty Python troupe of movies and everything like that from British television in the 70s, but he also directed Brazil from the 80s and The Fisher King from the early 90s, which are two of my favorite movies. And both of those movies are very fascinating and just show you what kind of movie 12 Monkeys is actually, because it really has Terry Gilliam written all over this movie. 12 Monkeys is one of my personal favorite time movies. I actually just recently did another time movie on this channel called Frequency, so like I said in that video, when you play with the movie trope of time, I'm already hooked right from the get-go, so that's what originally made me check out this movie about 10 years ago. And we're also here to talk about the 12 Monkeys Arrow 4K release that just came out. So 12 Monkeys follows Bruce Willis's character James Cole. He is from the year 2035, where now planet Earth cannot be occupied by humans. The surface can't. All the humans that are left are underground, and they're basically all prisoners. The surface has been taken over by wild animals such as we see as bears and lions. They're trying to figure out what caused this pandemic outbreak to happen that killed 5 billion people in the year 1995. And now we have technology that allows us to travel back in time, and we have our first volunteer, well, probably not our first, but our volunteer that we're going to be following is played by Bruce Willis, and he is going out into the world, and they're going to ship him off back to 1995. But of course, when they send him back for the first time, where does he end up? But in 1990, where he gets locked up in a mental institute because he sounds like a freaking
crazy as a loon,
as Brad Pitt would say, talking about time travel and the fact he's got to go back to 1995 and find out about the 12 Monkeys. And when he gets there, he gets locked up, he gets thrown in there, and he meets Brad Pitt. And this is probably one of my favorite Brad Pitt roles. Brad Pitt gets to chew the scenery, overact as much as he wants, talk about whatever he wants. He's just got twitches. He's like, just seems like a crazy person. And this just should prove to everybody who's ever doubted Brad Pitt as an actor that he can act. This was like probably one of our first early glimpses after this. I mean, this is after Thelma and Louise, but this also came out the same year as Seven. So this is really one of the launching movies for Brad Pitt, and he does a phenomenal job in this movie. But on the other side of that, we have Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis, who we now know with everything that he's going on, when he's just retired from acting, we look back and we try and appreciate the work that he did. And I think as far as an acting standpoint, obviously 12 Monkeys is probably not his most popular movie or his most famous movie. That would probably go to Die Hard or maybe The Sixth Sense. But this movie, I think, is his best acted movie. He does a great job. He has to play on the edge, but yet still be sympathetic. He has to be almost unbelievably crazy to where nobody else believes in, to where you, the viewer, have to even doubt if this man is sane or not. This movie makes you question it, and you need a good actor to do that, and that's what Bruce Willis provides. For everything that people have said about Bruce Willis's acting and his direct-to-video stuff, Bruce Willis is one of our best actors we've ever had, and he proves it here, because you have to be fully committed to this. So the way that Roger Pratt shoots this movie, who did also shoot Brazil and The Fisher King, so he's worked with Terry Gilliam in the past, and he also was the cinematographer on Batman from 1989. So he knows how to shoot. There's a lot of close-ups on everything, so you know Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis, they're doing a lot of face acting. There's even some disgusting scenes where Bruce Willis has drool like coming out of his mouth. The way Terry Gilliam likes his shots to be shot, he likes those extreme close-ups or where the camera's kind of on an angle almost, to where, you know, it makes you, the viewer, feel uncomfortable. So this is kind of a time movie that's not going to make you feel like warm and fuzzy. You know, this is not like the Terminator. There's like no action really. This is really just, honestly, it's a very fascinating philosophical tale about life and everything. And also, one thing that Terry Gilliam loves to do in his movies is basically talk about the bureaucrats of the world and how business is. Because like as we saw in Brazil, and all the talk about paperwork and how business is, how a business mistake basically leads to everything that happens in Brazil, just like this, everything is down to a business decision. And that's kind of how I felt throughout watching this movie, is that like these scientists act like they care and they want to fix the world and everything, but really we're just seeing how they treat this guy. Oh, we'll offer you a pardon. We don't even know what he did, but we'll offer you a pardon if you go and do this for us. But like Like, are you caring? Like, I don't get a caring, warm feel, like, from these scientists when we see them in their scenes that they pop up in. So, because they're the ones who are sending Bruce Willis back in time to try and find out who the Army of the 12 Monkeys is and what caused this outbreak in 1995 for their own reasons. So they're manipulating and using him. When he does a good job, and like the third time when we see them, they have a nice picture to help him come back in. They're singing to him. You know, they got like a children's blanket pulled over him. So they're trying to illustrate to you, you know, like we're giving that false sense of care for him when really he's just a pawn in the system. And now just to talk a little bit about what this movie means and like talk about the ending of the movie. Because as we find out towards the end of the movie, Brad Pitt and the 12 Monkeys are not what causes this outbreak, but another guy who worked for Brad Pitt's father actually is the one who ends up causing this whole thing. And he's going to take this virus that he has created in the labs and he's going to spread it all around the world. The visions that Bruce Willis has been seeing in his dreams prove that fate was inevitable for him, whereas he was going to be at that airport as a child, and this vision and this dream that he says he has every night was at this airport where this man is, where he's going to get on his first flight to the Florida Keys, to where he's going to begin to spread the virus that will kill 5 billion people. And Bruce Willis has been seeing this vision since he was a child, because he was at this airport as a child, and the person he sees getting shot in the back and dying with a killer mustache and some glorious locks was the adult version of himself. So that's a tragedy in and of itself. And then as we see, when the guy who's gonna go spread the virus with that ridiculous ponytail and yellow jacket gets on the plane, who's sitting next to him? But one of our scientists. The female scientist that you see in a lot of shots earlier in the movie, she's sitting next to him and she says that she's in insurance. Which really leaves the ending of this movie very open-ended and a lot of interpretation up to the viewer. So I've been struggling with this for about 10 years, how this movie ends. I've read many think pieces on it. I'm just going to give you what my thoughts are on the ending. So I think that what they were doing was, these people, these scientists, were just using him to make sure that what was supposed to happen happens. Like, I believe that they actually wanted this to happen. I believe that they were just making sure that the pieces were in the right place. Because if you know anything about time, some things are inevitable. Like, the thing is, like, even with deja vu, where you think you can trick your own mind into changing something, but really you just end up doing the same exact thing that was supposed to happen. So, it's fate. Bruce Willis's character, no matter what, was going to end up on that airport that day. He just didn't know how. It was going to happen because he's foresaw it. It was a premonition. There was no doubt about it, he just didn't know it. So everything that was supposed to happen, happened. And that's what I believe. And I believe when that scientist on the plane, she was just there to ensure that that did happen. And that's unfortunate for Bruce Willis's character to just be a pawn in the system, but then again, I feel like Terry Gilliam is always talking about that in his movies, where we are all just a pawn in a bigger system that we don't understand. And I think that's what 12 Monkeys is one of its finer things, is talking about that philosophical level of life. And Terry Gilliam does that in a lot of his movies, and I believe out of all his movies, 12 Monkeys is my favorite. I am a big fan of The Fisher King, but I still think 12 Monkeys is his masterpiece. I know most people will argue Brazil, but I believe that it is 12 Monkeys. And I believe that if you haven't seen 12 Monkeys, even though I just spoiled the hell out of the movie for you, I still think that you should check it out, because it really is a great time. You guys aren't just here to hear me talk about how much I like 12 Monkeys. You want to hear about this new 12 Monkeys 4K and if it's worth upgrading for whatever previous Blu-ray you do have. And I can honestly safely say right out of the gate, yes, you should pick this up if you don't have another copy, or even if you do. I have this Blu-ray from many years ago. You can even see how old it is, and I believe that this is a huge upgrade over that. Arrow Video, ever since they have gotten into the 4K market, I believe have been killing it with their 4K releases. They're very strategic, and they don't send every single one of their movies to 4K, just like Criterion. And I have said in previous videos that I think that Criterion is still number one, but Arrow Video, I would say, is definitely a close number two when it comes to physical media. They really know how to put out their movies, make sure they're at the highest quality, make sure they're the best they can look for the viewer. They have plenty of extras for you, and they do have like two separate kind of deals, like for example with like the RoboCop 4K that comes in this very hard box. It's a collector set, it costs a little more money, and then you get these 12 Monkeys like this with just a slip cover, just like kind of like a thicker 4K case. It's nothing special. It's got the Arrow logo, and I love the Arrow like rainbow like decal at the bottom of that and on the bottom of the slip cover. So I do think like these are kind of like they're like lower end 4K releases. There's still a little bit of money, and they do only come with a 4K disc in it and not any Blu-ray, so it's just the 4K, just the one disc in this package, where there's a couple discs in the RoboCop package. So they do designate different levels or different tiers to each of their 4K Blu-ray releases, so it's not just everyone has the same kind of box. So this one I would say is like on their lower end. They just put time and effort into making the film itself look great. And the film itself, it does look great. It looked the best it could possibly look, I think. This film does have a certain design that, like I said, Roger Pratt and Terry Gilliam are going for, where it's supposed to be a lot of grays and browns. Like, it's supposed to feel like a very run-down world. And I think they nailed that. There's a lot of scenes where like the light's kind of like blown out, but it still kind of works. You know, it's supposed to look gritty and down and dirty. It's not supposed to be like a beautiful, like Avengers type movie where colors pop, because colors do not really pop in this movie. Almost in any scenes it's going to appear flat, but that's because of the design of the film and not because of the design of the 4K itself. The 4K definitely increases the resolution. It does have HDR10 and Dolby Vision, which I thought really helped it. There is no Dolby Atmos track as far as audio goes. The highest you're going to have is Dolby at 5.1, and there's an DTS HD track on here as well. So you can also watch the film with some commentary. So if any way you want to experience this film, this is the package to do it, because the old Blu-ray was a very bare bones package and the visuals were for early Blu-ray. Nothing special, nothing that you haven't seen before, but this is the most enhanced version that we have, and I think it still retains that quality of like film feel, and it doesn't feel like it's completely brushed up just to make it look clean and new. It's supposed to look like how it was supposed to be viewed in 1995, and I think that they nailed it. Like I said, the extras, there's not as much as like on like a RoboCop release. There's only like a few extras on there, but what is on there is high quality. And if you're going out and you want to see 12 Monkeys, your buddy told you or I told you how good it is, this is the version you should get. And if I was going to rate this Arrow Video 4K release, I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. If you could still grab it. I had some trouble. I pre-ordered this months ago. It got lost in the mail from Best Buy, and then I began the next day on Amazon. I was able to get it so I could review it for you guys. But it is sold out at Best Buy right now. So definitely make sure you grab this either from Arrow's website or from a third party, because you won't be disappointed. And now, just to handle a little bit of channel business, it is Friday, so that means we have a giveaway to handle. So I'm going to ask you guys 2 questions, and then you are going to actually get the chance to win one of 3 digital copies. I did originally say that you guys could pick it. I'm going to let the winner pick which digital copy code they want. So if you want Blade, The Cabin in the Woods, or Clueless, it's going to be your choice. Whoever the winner is, you'll get to choose from one of those 3 instead of me just picking for you. So let's just go right into it. What 2 questions am I going to ask you this week? Well, I figured since this is a movie from 1995, I'll ask you guys a 90s question. What is your favorite 90s sci-fi movie? And if you're not a fan of sci-fi, what is your favorite 90s horror movie? Please leave that comment in the section below, and you are automatically entered into our digital code giveaway. Come back on Monday, I'll spin the wheel, and we'll see who wins this digital code, and whichever one you want. So please enter, and we'll see you on Monday. And guys, thank you for being a fan of Let's Talk. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and tell all your friends.